Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the floor to provide the technical presentation the AT&T Williams Technical Director, Mr. Sam Michael.
Thank you, Tristan. Cheers. Thanks for coming, everyone. So the main thing on the car for this year, as you know, there's been a lot of regulation changes from 2010 to 2011, and I guess the big one came for us at the end of 2009, as everyone knows. So this formed the start position of our design concept. So the aerodynamic concept of the car started back in December 2009, and then quickly we started the mechanical program about 3 months later in March 2010. And this really forms the sort of backbone of the car. So let's sort of get straight into the thing that everyone's been talking about, which is our tight rear end. Everyone likes a tight rear end. So that's really the design concept that forms the basis of the FW33. This is something that, when we started the car, the front part of the chassis is fairly well fixed now. So what we looked at over the whole car and said, what can we do that it's a differentiator? Because everyone's going to have a similar chassis height. The barge board and front wing layout is pretty similar between the cars. There's lots of performance there if you get it wrong, but it's not going to differentiate you from anyone. And the only thing that's really free is the rear end. So getting the rear end as tight and small as we have took many months on the dyno. We had to really tear up the piece of paper that we've had in the past for how you design a transmission, and really be sort of no holds barred on anything. And I guess the other thing that we said to ourselves in the design office is, let's make sure we drive out in February and we don't look at anyone's car and say someone's gone tighter and lower than us. We want to be the lowest. So that was a design spec right from the beginning. Now there's 2 or 3 tricks that we applied to the rear end, but as a result, it's the smallest and most compact rear end that Williams have ever designed. The start of it is the pull rod suspension. So we end up with a pull rod really to improve air to the rear wing, and that's really where the gearbox comes in as well. The whole driving force behind the gearbox is to improve air to that rear lower wing, because that was one of the things that we saw very early on in the aero development, along with the exhaust blowing, was going to be a key differentiator for this year. So as you can see, as you know, the top suspension is a Z-bone. That's also tied up with improving flow to the rear lower wing. All the suspension's high because any intrusion on the rear lower wing you want to take away from the lower surface. That was our philosophy. So we have a full stream of air going to the lower part of the wing. As you know, the upper part of the wing is not as critical as the lower. So that was the philosophy behind it. As the drive shaft angles that we've had to put the car through are very extreme. They're higher angles than anyone's ever done in Formula One before. That took a lot of dyno testing, and we've completed many thousands of kilometres. The first time we started doing tests on the drive shaft was back in June last year, and we had a full gearbox and rear end on the dyno by September, October time, and we knew from then that we were under control with it. And then the last part of the rear end, which was something that was a concern to us to start with, was the stiffness. But none of the stiffness of the gearbox on all parameters is lower than last year's car. And once again, there's 2 or 3 tricks that we had to apply and really take a sort of non-conventional view to F1 rear suspension design to achieve that. And as a result, we haven't had any problems with the stiffness of the car. So that's all really borne out as well in winter testing. We've had no issues with the transmission. We've had no issues with the rear suspension, no problems at all there, which is great. So the fundamental part of the car is right, and it enables us just to concentrate on performance. So going back to that big change, the double diffuser, I think one thing that's very interesting about Formula One now is if you look at the cars, there's some very interesting concepts out there. And the reason why is because the rules have been restrained so much on bodywork, and you can do very little on your diffuser now. Teams have had to push very hard in other areas and take much bigger risks than what they would have done in the past. So you're seeing, the interesting designs for me is, if you look at the moment, you've got obviously the Williams tight rear end, you've got the double floor on the Toro Rosso, you've got the forward exhaust on the Renault. These are all things that potentially some of them you could have done before, but you didn't because there was much bigger gains for much lower risk. And I think that's great for Formula One because the cars don't look the same. The cars do look different, and everyone's trying different concepts. So that's the sort of double diffuser and rear end where we came to. I can answer some questions. The other big change for 2010 is KERS, obviously reintroduced now. With the Williams system, we have a battery system in the car. All of our KERS is contained underneath the chassis, and we did that mainly for aerodynamic reasons. Previously, people had pushed out into the side pod, and when you do that, you affect this undercut, which is a very critical. Undercut is where the side pod scoops in above the floor, and if you put the KERS out there, you start pushing this undercut wider and losing downforce. So immediately we said, right, we want to keep everything inside the chassis, and if necessary, make the chassis longer, which is what we did, because that's not really a penalty, and everything's contained underneath. We also, as you know, Williams Hybrid Power developed a flywheel, and we did consider a flywheel for this car. It was very close, but unfortunately the packaging sort of stopped us doing that to start with. Obviously WHP work on flywheels in other industries, but we also haven't discounted introducing a flywheel to this car at some point. It'll be very unlikely during 2011, but it will definitely be on the cards again for 2012 of flywheel versus battery. The other big change is the tyres. So after 14 years in the sport, Bridgestone have withdrawn, and Pirelli are the tyre supplier now. I'd have to say from a time period point of view, Pirelli have done a fantastic job, because they're competing against someone who's been in the sport for so many years. We're not competing against them, but we're comparing our tyre grip and degradation to a very high benchmark. So the progress they've made over the last test has been fantastic. To start with, the tyres were having a lot of wear and a lot of degradation, but even in the last 3 tests you can already see that improving. And it's improving because of three primary things. First of all, Pirelli are working on the tyres, so they're making them better. It's not a massive program compared to a tyre war, but they are doing it. The second thing is the drivers are learning how to drive around these tyres. They're very different, and it's great when you've got someone like Rubens in the car to identify these differences, because he's driven so many different tyres over the course of his career. And the third thing is the teams are making them better. We're changing the setup, we're adding more downforce to the car, and all those things stop the tyre sliding and improve the degradation. Having said that, I'm quite sure in the first few races we'll be into multi-stop strategies. I think there'll be a minimum of 2 stops and maybe 3 stops in some of the early races. I'd be surprised if it went any worse than that, but I think that will improve as the year goes on as well. So that's the tyres. Then the next thing, of course, is our drivers. We have a new driver in Pastor, Maldonado. He's here today with us. Pastor's come along as a rookie, and I'd say that the job that he's done in the short testing that we've had so far has been very good. One of the things I liked, and called Frank and Patrick straight away and Adam after the first test, was to say that he's definitely naturally talented. We did a lot of work with Pastor over the winter, and we did some driving programs with him which helped identify that as well. But there's nothing like being in the Formula 1 car and driving. And on his first couple of days in Valencia, looked a lot at his data compared to Rubens and could see that he has a natural talent. But Pastor's a rookie. He'll make a few mistakes and he'll have a few crashes. Every rookie does. But the one thing I am quite impressed by him already is the fact that probably because he's 25 years old and he's 5 years older than what a normal rookie does when they come into the sport. He's got a level of maturity that's higher, and that's quite encouraging. And the other thing I'd say is on his setup direction is it's very similar to Rubens very quickly, and I think that also comes from his maturity and experience in the lower categories he's been working on. So he's had a very good training. So let's be clear, obviously, and Pastor knows this as well, Rubens is the key driver for the direction of the car, because with someone with that much experience, Pastor will never match him. His main thing is to try and learn from him as much as he can. But Rubens contributes the most to where the car's going in terms of the aero platform, the setup, and what we're working on. But it's very encouraging for me to see Pastor reflecting Rubens' comments very quickly about what the car's doing. So that's our drivers. And then the last point probably is just a brief summary on our testing so far. We've done 3,800 kilometres, and we've got 1 test to go before Melbourne. The testing's been very good. We don't have any fundamental mechanical issues on the car. We've had lots of little teething problems and tiny things which are like 3 minutes to fix, but have cost us 6 hours in the garage on some days. So there's been a couple of little annoying system problems like that, but generally it's been pretty good. And the last thing, which everyone's obviously interested in, is how fast is everyone. Now, there's lots of speculation about where everyone is, and we have within the Formula One teams, enormous amounts of data, lots of lap times. We know where our aero platform is, and we take photos of other cars, and we have no idea at all where anyone is. So for the journalists, you're not going to have any chance to predict it. You can sort of see some trends of who might be quickest and maybe who's slowest, but then there's a big group of probably 8 or 9 teams in the middle where I don't think you can predict it. And also I think even if you've got someone who looks really strong today, they may not be by Melbourne or Malaysia or Shanghai, because the rate of progression at the moment is very big. And that always happens with such a big rule change. So I think all the testing that we've been doing has shown that I think we can have a very competitive car in the FW33. And as long as we develop it quickly, which is what we're doing, and I think we can have a good year with that. So that's where we are.
Thanks a lot, Sam. We'd like to invite any questions from the media on the floor. We've got some roaming mics on either side. Yeah, please, sir.
I'm Morris Hamilton, freelance. You're talking about the extreme angle of the drive shafts. How confident are you that the tests and simulations you've carried out will give you any idea of what it's going to be like when you hit the curbs at somewhere like Monza?
Well, so what Morris is asking, in case you didn't hear, is how confident are we in the drive shaft angles if we hit curbs at Monza? Well, until we actually go to Monza, we won't know that, but Monza was one of our simulations that we used on the dyno, and we use 2 dynos. We use an engine dyno at Cosworth in Northampton, and we use what we call electric dyno in Cologne at the ex-Toyota facility. And that facility has the ability to run a complete rear end on the car and do full track playback with all the suspension attached, with the gearbox running at full torque and full power. So we've done many thousands of kilometres around Monza already. So, and in the testing that we've done, we haven't seen any problems at all.
Thank you. Next question, please. Certainly in the back, sir.
Tony Dawkins, freelance. From what you've seen, Sam, you said you've got all these copious amounts of data. You've obviously seen different cars and different compounds and that kind of thing. Is there a huge difference in the sort of drop-off car to car on the different compounds? Do you think that's largely explains the spread we're seeing?
I think the drop-off changes quite a bit between cars, but also what tyre they're on. So if you look at, sometimes you can see low drop-off. First of all, let's just reset our benchmark, as I said, because the first thing, everyone went there and thought, oh my God, look how big it is. It's like 4 times the degradation we're used to. But it's the same for everybody, so you get used to it. So you quickly reset where your benchmark is. In terms of looking at how our deg or someone else's deg is, it's very difficult until you get all the fuel loads, you get all the tyres. The only thing you can probably look at, which is interestingly the most similar data, is when someone does a race simulation from start to finish. And everything in between, it's almost impossible to say where people are because they don't know where you are and you don't know where they are in terms of what tyre they're on. You know what tyre they're on by the end of the day because Pirelli will tell you, but also the fuel load. You don't know what fuel loads are running, and those things are first order. So, yeah, that just adds another bit of confusion to the pot.
Thank you. Any further questions, please? No? Fantastic. Well, I'd like to thank Sam for coming out and providing the technical briefing. And we'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further to the delivery, launch and technical presentation, we're also pleased to announce today a new 2011 season partnership with the double Michelin-starred chef Michael Caines, MBE. Among other things, Michael is the executive chef at Gidley Park, which was recently rated the #1 restaurant in the United Kingdom. This season, he will be serving his signature dishes at the AT&T Williams trackside facilities throughout the season. Thank you. And we will have a clip momentarily.
Williams Williams and myself, Mike Keynes, has gone into a partnership where we'll be working with the team to improve the delivery and execution of their hospitality, but also to put on some private functions with Sir Frank. So really looking after the sponsors and the executives from the sponsorship, giving them a fantastic insight to great hospitality. So using the quality of the two-star experience here at Gidley Park and bringing that to bear within Williams as a team, and putting my signature dishes onto the menus, and working with Adam and John and Joe to then further the experience of hospitality within the motorhome. This is a sauce I think you could probably do out there, and we start off with some butter. It's all about the aromatics, lemongrass. We sweat down the shallots, lemon thyme. Now we're going to reduce that by half, then we're going to add the cream, and that's it.
Linking in with Michael and Gidley Park will give us just another step up the ladder to make ourselves stand out compared to other teams in the paddock.
I think for us we've always been quality rather than quantity, and teeing up with Michael gives us that opportunity to take it a step further.
But what will make this dish really special is those combinations of flavours. So have a taste of that and tell me what you think, gents. I'm very excited about working for Williams. It's a great British team. I love the values of Williams, and every time I've been, I've noticed that there's a big focus on looking after their partners, and that struck me as something that I was interested in and that could help them in. And there's nothing complicated, yet it's an outstanding combination.
For us to create a little bit of Michael's special touch into our environment, and give us basically a stepping stone in order to bring the quality and excellence of our catering up to match with Michael's, and to create a talking point in the paddock.
The guests arrive, we welcome them at the door, at the latest basically, ideally outside.
We're all very interested in moving the hospitality onwards. We all think that we do a very good job now, and the feedback that we get is very good. But I do think that it can be moved on further.
I think if we can get the name across and produce the food to Michael's level that he wants to be seen, I think that would be a success.
We're very strict on time. It's a natural thing for me. The genuine love of the sport is a lovely sidekick to the opportunity, but I also feel that, you know, we stand to gain a lot from it, from the association, and it's a high performance sport, and we're at the top of our game in what we do, and I think in that sense there's a good match too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Keynes, MBE. Michael, a couple of questions. Thank you very much for coming out and joining us today. Pleasure. Just to start with, what excites you about the world of fine cuisine where you've come from, and Formula One that you're coming on board for the year?
Well, personally, for my own interest, I'm a motor racing fan. I've watched Williams through my childhood as I grew up, and I'm a keen supporter of motorsports in general. So it's a great honour, a huge amount of pride that I'm able to get involved. And secondly, once I've been to a few Grand Prix, it's quite obvious just how important it is to look after key sponsors and VIPs. And when you go into the motorhomes, it is an experience very, very different to, say, the Paddock Club. It's much more intimate, it's much more personal, and a lot of the sponsors are sort of repeat kind of guests, and it is very much about the added value that you can give. And that's what we do. We're quintessentially very English in our hospitality. We love the values of the team. Frank's an inspiration, and so Frank's got an absolutely fantastic team here, and we're just really excited about working with them.
Fantastic. And you've had a chance to sort of kick the tyres of Williams' existing sort of high-speed catering service. What do you make of it so far?
It's really impressive, and the logistics that they have to think about with everything they do is just incredible, and the forward planning. So we're kind of catching up them at the moment with our menus, planning that for the European season, and the truck leaves quite soon. So clearly we've got to fit in with that logistical challenge. But at the same time, we've developed some nice signature dishes which people will be able to try in Williams Hospitality's motorhome, and I think that's going to be add a little extra sort of twist to it. But can't take anything away from the team at the moment. They're doing a great job, and they deliver wonderful food and great hospitality. And we're just trying to work with them to give them some inspiration and some key pointers so where they can improve and deliver great service and wonderful food and in a creative environment. So that's what we're trying to do. So it's quite a task, really.
And speaking of the signature dishes, can you give us a hint or any clue of what you might have in the offing for those guests at the motorhome this season?
Well, these guys are going to be lucky because you're going to have a menu cooked by me today, so that'll give you a nice insight to some of the dishes. But also, you know, I think what we're trying to do is look at locations around the world and have a look at how, when we get to the European season, we can complement the destination with some of the ingredients. So we've got this wonderful cod dish with lemon puree and chorizo foam for when we go to Spain, and then, you know, coming to places like Monaco, you know, there's obviously a little bit more classic French twist there. So we've just got some great ideas today. I don't want to give the menu away, but I think it should be a good indication to the sort of aspirations that we want to bring to the motorhome dining.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We certainly look forward to seeing some of your work shortly. And we'll thank you, and please, yeah, you better get back to the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah, got to get on with it. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the AT&T Williams livery launch and technical presentation of the Williams Cosworth FW33. Thank you very much for coming here today, and for those online and around the world, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you.